there's gold inside the Buddha. And so very carefully they remove the clay and find that inside this clay Buddha is actually a golden Buddha. And the story goes that hundreds of years ago, when the invaders had come, the monks in the temple at that time, where they had been worshiping a golden Buddha, were terrified because the invaders were destroying all of the gold and melting it down and taking it. And so they covered it with clay to make it seem worthless. And the good news was that the clay Buddha survived. The bad news was that none of the monks did. And so no one who actually knew that it was a gold Buddha survived. And so for hundreds of years they had been worshiping this clay Buddha. And the reason that I love this story so much is it's such a beautiful metaphor. We spend our lives wanting to become gold, thinking that if I just go here or buy this or read that or acquire this or learn to do that, then I'm going to be gold. And really what the process is not about finding something from without. You know, we talk about self-development, and it's something that always makes Pujya Swamiji laugh. You know, on the airplanes in this country, they always put the magazines in the back of the seat in front of you, and occasionally he'll just flip through it to see what is happening in American culture these days. And there's always these advertisements for various self-development programs. And he always laughs and he says, but God created the self, as though somehow we could improve on his creation, that he's made it, and now we're going to finish it up. We're going to develop it and improve it. That gold is the self. That expansive, boundless nature is the self. And if we just stopped suffocating it, because really that's what we're doing, we're moving in the opposite direction. We're buying more and acquiring more, thinking it's going to help us expand. And actually what it does is it suffocates us. We're compressing ourselves rather than expanding ourselves. So then we feel frustrated and stressed, and so then we go shopping. And the cycle continues. And so when we realize that that gold is within, then it becomes simply a matter of, okay, what's my clay? How do I remove the clay? And for each of us, it's different. It's always some combination of unfulfilled desires and ego and anger and greed and pain and grudges and jealousies and all of these things. We all have a different combination of them. But it's some mixture of that for all of us. And the path then becomes a path of removing our clay, rather than a path of searching for gold or becoming gold. And the only dilemma there is that for so many of us, we're attached to the clay. And that's where the real tragic irony comes. Is someone will say to us, or we'll read a book, or we'll have a vision or a dream, or it'll come to us in meditation, or however it comes to us. That awareness that the gold is within, that the self is infinite and boundless and expansive and perfect and complete. But we don't want to let go of that clay. No matter how malfunctional it is, no matter how much it's keeping us from being gold, we don't want to let go. We're attached to it. You know, in India, for those of you who have been there, one of the great problems that we face, particularly in North India, is the problem of monkeys. And there are monkeys everywhere. Mm-hmm. And they're sort of like the local pests. I always tell people, be sure to take pictures of monkeys in the very beginning, because if you don't take them in your first 2 days, you'll never be able to imagine why anyone would want to take a picture of monkeys. But India is a very non-violent country. They're very committed to ahimsa. So the answer is never let's go out and shoot the monkeys or poison the monkeys. And what they did was they developed a monkey catching technique. And the monkey catching technique was they took these coconuts and they hollowed out the coconut. And inside the coconut, they put something that monkeys really like. A piece of fruit, a sweet. But the trick was that they made that hole in the coconut just big enough for an empty hand to go in, but too small for a closed fist to come out. And so the monkeys would reach their hand in and they'd grab hold of that luscious prize, and then they were stuck. And we'd like to think, well, since they really are our closest evolutionary relatives, of course they would be smart enough to realize that this thing had just made them stuck and they'll let it go and be free. But the reason it became such a perfect monkey catching technique is they never let go. No matter how handicapped they now became with this coconut on the end of one of their four legs, they couldn't run, they couldn't climb trees, they couldn't do anything. And of course they couldn't even get that luscious prize. They never let go. And they are our closest evolutionary relatives, and for so many of us, that's what we do. We've grabbed hold of something. Whether it's our idea of how things should be, whether it's something that happened to us in the past that we feel defines us, even though it defines us in a negative way that keeps us compressed, whether it's an expectation of the future that may or may not be fulfilled, whether it's how other people should be, whatever it is. A pain, a grudge, jealousy, our own egos. We've held on to them. And they've made us stuck. And we don't want to let go. But once we realize that the path is not a path of getting somewhere or becoming something, but simply a path of opening up our hands and letting go. Letting that clay be washed off. Then it actually becomes much easier. Because then it's just a very, very simple shift in perception. Of realizing I'm actually so much wholer, so much more complete, so much closer to what I'm really looking for without these things than holding on to them. And then we're able to enjoy the moonlight for a walk or some fresh air. But when we're looking for the key, we realize that it's inside. And that becomes, of course, the only way to find it, is to just stop and take a deep breath and realize that that key's there. And it's not even lost because it's inside ourselves. So it's with us, and it's always been with us. And if we just come back inside, then we have it all. Thanks.
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् dukkha bhavet. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Mrityorama amritam gamaya. Om Shanti. 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 It's so beautiful to be here. When I came, I was told, what is a root of suffering? And how we can live the blessed life. The answer, the center itself, the name, the center for spiritual living. The moment you start spiritual living, all questions are answered. The answer for all the questions, all the suffering is spiritual living. It's not only you come to the center, but how you can become centered. That's what spiritual living teaches us, how to be centered. When you become centered, then you will not keep filling your shelves. You will be more caring about the self. The whole shift will take from shelves to self. You see, our desire and our own decisions are the root of suffering. Our own desires. It's not that desire is not right. It's not that desire is bad. It's their desire, I am here. They had a desire that I should be here and I'm here. It's a great desire that I could see you all. So many beautiful souls. If there's no desire, you will never get up from the bed. You will not go to work. No job, no work, no cooking. There is a desire which drives us to succeed, to be there, to have more. Nothing wrong in it with the desire. And people sometimes think that to take care of this desire, because not many spiritual living centers are in the communities, very scarce, very few. So people think maybe as they find the answer to going to the spas, to the retreats, and to the mountains, to the caves, they try to find the answer. How to take care of this? How to end this suffering? Buddha, as she was talking about Gautam Buddha, the real Buddha also, before he became Buddha, he was living in the palace, Siddhartha, Gautam, and realized, yes, there are sufferings in the world. But he was not worried about his own suffering. He was worried when he went out first time out of the palace and he saw one old man. Old man? He never saw any old man. Amazing. He was sheltered in such a way, he was kept in the palace because his father was very scared. When he was very young, when he was born, the forecast was by the astrologer that maybe it can happen, he can be a crowned king, or this is also a possibility that he can become a yogi, a sannyasi, maybe leave the house, leave the palace and goes forever. Father being a father, mother being a mother, naturally they become very worried. If somebody has to be sannyasi, somebody else's son, not my son. Somebody has to be king, my son has to be king. Other son should become a sannyasi, not my son. It's good. That's what makes them mother. Mothers are great. They have to be concerned. And mother was concerned, father was concerned, the parents were so concerned, they made the life so sheltered around him that he could not even see the outside world. Once it happened, it's the divine will, he asked his father that I want to go to see the town. Father said, yeah, not today, kept delaying. And one day it happened, he said yes. Now he was taken with his people who were trained specially. He should not see this, he should not see that. And even going outside also, he wanted to make the whole outside world in such a way that wherever he was taken, he can see only the beauty. He can see only the prosperity. He can see everything beautiful, which can keep him there. Wow, great, super. To have more. To be attracted to those temptations and attractions. What is being offered today by the TV? He has tried to give him everything right there. But the divine will is a divine will. Buddha was not for all of that. He was not born for this. People say that he became Buddha later on when he went to the jungle. To me, he was born Buddha. Otherwise, it's not easy. He was enlightened. It's not easy that being in the palace with everything, with silver spoon in your mouth and you have everything you wish for and things are there. Goes once out, sees the old man, comes back. Into his heart, what is this? And he started pondering about this man. Again he walked. Next step he sees a man who is very frail, full of disease, very unhealthy man. when he saw that man, asked about that man, inquired about that man, was answered to cut it short. And again, he saw another one. Another scene was that person was dead. The people, 4 people were taking the dead man to the cemetery. And he again asked this question, what is this? As he was answered, he said, how he got dead? Why he is dead? So many questions. The young prince, never seen death, never seen misery, never seen suffering. Answer was given that everybody has to go through it. He said, me too? He said, yes. And you too? He said, yes, me too. And you too. Everyone came back. Could not sleep all night. Kept thinking. Made the decision. Saw the beautiful wife. Before he left, saw the son. And made the plan. Was gone. To end that suffering. And became the light of Asia. Not light of Asia, became the light to the world. Because the story is very long, I'm not going to the story, but I just want to touch it. That one incident, what we see every day, in our lives so many times. We have gone to the cemeteries, we have gone to the funerals, attended those ceremonies, and we come back. After 1 hour, again same cup of coffee, same movie, same ice cream, same holiday, and life goes on. But he went on to find that cause of suffering. And he came to know the cause of suffering, the root of suffering, is not created by somebody else. If we want, immediately, now, we can take care of it. And he found those solutions. How to use the veto. How to use that veto which is given to every one of us. Now, I remember once when she came, when she was 25. She was doing after graduating from Stanford, she was doing PhD, and she came to me. I was not there, she came to India. Just read in the books, all of her friends, Stanford grads, and they all came to India. And I was in America. In America, a person born in Hollywood went to Hollywood, and I came from Hollywood to Hollywood. And she is searching there, I was preaching here, and she goes to the ashram, sees beautiful Ganga Ghat, Ganga platforms, Ganga Aarti, everything. And something was there which was pulling her there to stay. But she kept looking for the permission in the ashram.